It is really good to see all of you here. I hope that we have a good question and answer session tonight. If you are new here, the way this works is Todd and Dave will post the link to the question form in the chat every few minutes, and I will take questions from the chat. I will paste them back. I will take questions that you submit and paste them back into the chat, and then I will do my best to answer them. I do want to say hi to everyone who's here. Let me just check my audio. It sounds like everything is working well. Hello to everyone who is here. There are lots of you in the chat already, and more people are flowing in as I talk. So if you are ready, we'll get started. Let me go and get the first question. The first question is from Deekshanch, and it is a great question. I read it earlier because it was there a couple minutes ago. And this question is from Deekshanch. We have a lot of motorcycles on roads in countries like India. Why are they not very common in Western countries like Canada and the United States? This is something I have noticed. So one thing that's different about Canada, which will make a lot of sense when I say it, is that we have winter, and motorcycles don't work very well in the winter. So generally in Canada, people don't own a motorcycle for their daily transportation. Usually they own a car or a van. And in Canada, many people do own motorcycles, but it's often considered a recreational vehicle or a vehicle that you drive for fun. There are people that do drive motorcycles to work in April, May, June. Usually June, July, August in the summer are the popular months for driving a motorcycle in Canada. There are more motorcycles in the southern United States. So as you go south, I'm just saying my opinion here. I have not checked the actual facts on this, but I do know that years ago I had a motorcycle, and in the winter in Canada you put your motorcycle in the garage for a few months, and you certainly would not want to drive it in the snow. In fact, we're having a snowstorm outside right now. It would not be a great day to be driving outside. Great question, Deekshanch. Great question. I think in parts of India the weather's a little more conducive to driving motorcycles. There's a great new word for you guys. Hey, before I get to the next question, I just want to say thank you to Todd and Dave, who are both moderating the chat tonight. It is good to have them there. We're hoping that everyone follows the rules in the chat. Please, only English in the chat as much as possible. And also, if you do have questions, please ask them using the form. Don't ask them in the chat. Please use the chat to chat with each other. That's the best thing to use it for. Let me get the next question here. Next question is from Michael. What is the difference between begin and start? So I could say next week I start a new job. I can also say next week I begin a new job. We would probably use start. It sounds a little more natural, but the words in that situation mean the same thing. So a few months ago, I started doing live streams on Saturday nights. A few months ago, I began doing live streams on Saturday nights. In those two sentences, the words mean the same thing. Brian has the next question. Brian says, how can I use ever in a sentence? Well, if you ever need an example sentence, I can give you one. If you ever are in Canada, I recommend that you go to Tim Hortons. So there was 2 example sentences for you, Brian. Hopefully that helped you a lot. There are, of course, a lot more ways to use the word ever than just my 2 examples. So you might want to look up on the internet some more information or find a good YouTube video about that specific word. Spirit says, hi Bob, I'm from Mexico. Can you give us some advice for an English interview? So I know many of you have tests coming up in the spring, possibly, or you might be going for a job interview that is in English. And you want to practice for it. And that's what Spirit is asking about. My number one recommendation is that you go on Amazon or another website and buy an IELTS or a TOEFL practice package. And then also, if you can find a native English speaker on, I always say Preply, Cambly, italki, who specializes in the interview portion or the conversation portion of an English test. They can really help you prepare for either your test or to prepare for an interview in English. But certainly practice a lot. Practice as much as you can. Watch videos about it. Practice with a friend who speaks English. Flavio always has some really good questions. Flavio says, let's see here. Flavio, hey Bob, good evening. What is the correct way to pronounce the word thigh? So I did correct there for a sec. Just let me check something for a minute, everybody. Yes, there we go. Flavio says, hey Bob, good evening. What is the correct way to pronounce the word thigh? So it is thigh. It's the part of your leg above your knee. We would call your thigh. Tricky word to say for someone who is learning English. The word is thigh. A lot of letters in that. So Gaga says, let's see here. Gaga says, hi, Teacher Bob. TC means teacher. I kind of figured that out yesterday, Gaga. I saw TC a lot in yesterday's chat. But yes, TC means teacher. Yes. What difficulties did you have when you learned French? And what's your advice for practicing listening skills? And how do you pass? Oh, and what do I do to maintain my French language? So a few things. The best thing I did when I was learning French was talk to a native English speaker via a website called Preply. That was just outstanding because I knew I was talking to someone once a week. I wanted to work really hard to impress that teacher on Skype. So I worked really hard. That really helped a lot. How do I maintain my language now? I watch a lot of French YouTubers. I listen to a lot of French music. And at school, we actually have about 5 students who are native French speakers. So I try to find them as much as I can, especially in the next few weeks, and talk to them. So that helps a lot. I'm kind of lucky at my school that we have students from all over the world. If I ever wanted to learn Chinese, I would probably have lots of people who would help me. A lot of students from China. Next question here is the next question. Lolly Lolly says, hi Bob, an apple pie or an apple tart? Merci. So an apple pie, we did the lesson on snacks yesterday. If you're watching this as a video later, I'll put a link up there to that one. But a pie is a big circle that you cut with a knife and then you get pieces of pie out of it. In Canada, a tart is a smaller pastry that's made with apple in it. Hey, I just want to give a shout out to Sean from Free 99 English. He just joined the chat. Hello, Sean. How are you doing? Good to see you here. I hope you're not having as bad of a winter storm as us. We are in the middle of it right now, for sure. Denny has the next question. Actually, just let me check something, everybody. I think I did this correct. Yes. Okay, let me see here. Sorry, I deleted a question by accident. Denise says, Bob, I was watching a documentary about tornadoes and I had a question. Are there tornadoes in Canada? Notice, Denise, I corrected your question there. Are there tornadoes in Canada? Yes, there are actually. In my area, it's very rare. We sometimes have really, really small tornadoes. For everyone watching, a tornado is like a pillar of air that's turning really quickly. You've probably seen them. A tornado can pick things up and throw them. It's when the wind is really strong and it moves in a funnel shape. So we have them in Western Ontario more though. We don't have them a lot in this part of Ontario. Let me see here. I thought you said that you watched a documentary about tomatoes, but tomatoes are a red vegetable. Some people say it's a fruit, but tomatoes and tornadoes are very different. Flavio says, can you help me with the pronunciation of the word world and month? So the best I can do, Flavio, is give you some examples. So we live in the world. The world is a really big place. And next month, I am starting another semester at my school. So month and world, tricky for non-natives to pronounce. Takes a lot of practice. Let's see here. Gemini. Hi, Gemini. Good morning from Germany. I came across the expression 6 years my senior. What does this mean? So my older brother is 2 years my senior. Okay, that means he is 2 years older than me. It's a rare saying. It's a rare phrase. We do though say it from time to time. So yes, if someone is 6 years my senior, it means that they are 6 years older than me. Sean says, I think your storm is heading our way, but we'll only get 10 to 15 centimeters. Newfoundland just got hit with 70 centimeters of snow. That's crazy. So that's the eastern part of Canada. Sean is from New Brunswick. That's correct, right, Sean? I think you're from New Brunswick. For some reason, all of a sudden, I forgot. And Newfoundland, or Newfoundland, depends how fast you want to say it, is north of Sean out that way. And they apparently got a lot of snow. Let's see here. Beryl Vilson says, hi Beryl Vilson, is this saying in English well known in Canada too? 1 apple a day, keep your doctor away. So the way I learned it as a kid was an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Basically exactly the same phrase as what you were saying there. So yes, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Basically what that means is if you eat healthy, you will be sick less and you won't need to go to the doctor. So an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Sean says, yes, he is from New Brunswick. That's what I thought. Ulysses says, hi, Bob. Hi, Ulysses. What's the difference? Notice I added a the. What's the difference in pronunciation between been and being? So let me say that again. I made some corrections to your question. What's the difference between the pronunciation of been and being? Now I'm going to say something funny here. I sometimes say been and I sometimes say been. So I pronounce it 2 ways. When I say been, people laugh at me, but in English, you will hear a lot of variations. Like, I've been to the United States. I've been to the United States. It sounds a little funny when I say been, but you will hear a lot of different pronunciations of that. And then being. So it's really fun being a teacher. Notice though, being and being sound very similar, don't they? It's a lot of fun being a teacher. Just a little ing sound at the end, a very, very small ing sound. Hope that helped, Ulysses. Next question is from Ku from Taiwan. Good morning, Bob. Yes, it's morning over there. Could you explain strainer and filter? Thank you. So for me, a strainer is anything with a lot of holes in it that when you pour something in, the liquid goes through and all of the solid stays in the top. A filter, though, does something similar, but it's usually something that we use in a coffee maker or in a car engine. A filter allows liquid to go through, but it's usually a lot finer than a strainer, okay? An oil filter in a car is a special piece of a car that lets the oil go through, but it takes out the solid parts of it. So let's see here. We'll go to the next question. Looks like Todd is working hard there. Thanks, Todd, for all of your hard work. Let me see. Next question is from Flavio. Flavio says, can you help me understand how to use the word which? Thanks. So the best way to look at it is if you have to decide something, like which cup of tea do you want? Which cookie do you want? Which piece of apple pie do you want? That would be a great way to do it. I want to stop and thank Miroslav, though, for the sticker. Thanks, Miroslav, for the good job fox there. Wait, I think it's a cat. Either way, thank you, Miroslav, for the super chat. Always nice when people show their support. That's awesome of you. Thanks again, Miroslav. Hope you're having a good day over there in Michigan. I think that's the Miroslav that's giving the the sticker. There's a few different Miroslavs, but I know one in Michigan. Ivan says, hello, Bob. My name is Ivan. I'm from Russia. I would like to know, do people in Canada swim in cold water at their baptism? Tonight we have a baptism in Russia. Thank you. So there are a number of different ways that there are people are baptized in Canada. So a baptism is something that happens in a Christian church. In some churches, they sprinkle water on people. In some churches, they have a tank of water and they dunk people in the water. And there are even some churches that go out to an actual stream and do it outside. But the most common form of baptism that I know of is when the minister just sprinkles some water on the head of a baby or on the forehead of a person. Not a lot, not that familiar with all the different kinds of baptism, but you might want to do a little research on that. Renata, what do you reply to? How are you holding up? I usually answer that question with pretty good. How are you holding up, Bob? Pretty good. So this is a phrase you ask someone who maybe was sick and they are getting better. And you say, hey, how are you holding up? And basically what you're saying is, are you starting to feel better? Or how are you handling your sickness? Okay. And my standard response would probably be, oh, I'm holding up pretty good, or pretty good. That's a great question, Renata. That is a very common question. A friend of mine at work hurt his back. And so when he came back to work, a common question would be, oh, so your back is still sore. How are you holding up? Basically what you're saying is, how is your day going with your sore back? Maruan says, how can I use being in a sentence? Like I said, it's a lot of fun being a teacher. There's a good example sentence for you. Renata says, what does it mean to give someone the benefit of the doubt? So when you give someone the benefit of the doubt, it means, let's say a student says to me, I want to hand my paper in late. Is that okay with you? I was busy last night. And instead of asking a lot of questions to see if they're telling the truth, you just give them the benefit of the doubt. You just take it and say, okay, no problem. You can hand in whatever you're handing in late. I'm going to look up the official description for a sec, just to make sure we get it. So it's allowing a person or statement to be regarded as true without needing to prove it. That's a pretty official definition, isn't it? Let's see here. Minshin says, hi, Bob. I don't quite understand this sentence or the sentence. Can you get 1/2 of one of the pizzas with anchovies on it? Yeah, so if I said to my friend, hey, go order 2 pizzas and get 1/2 of one of the pizzas with anchovies on it, it means I want 1 pizza with no anchovies and I want 1 pizza with half filled with anchovies. It's a weird phrasing, but we do say it for sure. We do say things like that. 1/2 of one of the pizzas with anchovies on it. By the way, I don't like anchovies on my pizza. If you don't know what anchovies are, you'll have to look it up. They're interesting. They're very salty as well, and I'm not a big fan of lots of salt in my food. So the next question from Nawal. Let me take a little drink of tea. I still haven't found my other mug. I think it's in the van. I think it rolled under the seat. So I'm still using Jen's. I really need to go look for my other travel mug. Nawal says, is there a difference between just and only? And how can we use them in sentences? Thank you so much in advance. So I will give you an example of how just and only are the same. You could say, there's just 1 cookie on the plate. You could say, there's only 1 cookie on the plate. So that's an example of me using them in the same way, but it would be a good idea to research them a bit more. I'm just going to go to the store quick and get some milk is different than saying I'm only going to the store to get some milk. So they can be used to mean the same thing, but they also have slightly different meanings. So tricky to give clear answers on that one, but my first 2 sentences are good sentences to listen to again where I use them the same way. Let's see here. Pastor Padilla says, hi, Bob, what's the difference between I'd rather and I prefer? Well, I'd rather do a live stream on Saturday nights than have a nap. I prefer to do a live stream on Saturday nights than to have a nap. So you can use them in the same way. Let's see here. Brian Gomez says, why don't you want to answer in the chat? You might be asking questions in the chat, Brian, and then it's tricky because I don't watch the chat very clearly. I just check my questions that come in via the forum, and that works the best. Let's see here. Claude Mears says, hi, Bob. Tell us about Canada's most popular myths, legends, and myths. So let me reread that, Claude Mears, because I made a small correction. Hi, Bob. Tell us about Canada's most popular legends and myths. There are a lot of them. I don't really have time to tell all of them. Many of our legends and myths have to do with when Europeans came to Canada and started to settle here. But maybe it's better if I do a video on this. If you leave that question in the description, I'll think about how I could make a video talking about that. Let's get to the next question though. Zizo has the next question. Zizo says, hi Bob, I would like to know, how do natives pronounce these words? Constant, mischievous, and sentence. So let me use all of those. So there is a constant noise coming from my computer over there, and it's bothering me a little bit. A constant noise. The other day, my kid was being a little mischievous. Notice how I kind of mushed that whole word together, mischievous. That means that he was being kind of a little bit bad and silly. And then sentence. So this, I just read the sentence above where Deekshant says, earlier Bob used to answer questions from the chat. There was a time about 7 or 8 months ago when there would only be about 40 people in the whole live stream, and I could answer questions straight from the chat. It was really fun. Now, because there's 332 people, it's just too many people to answer them straight from the chat. But Deekshant remembers. Bara Vilson will probably remember. Lolly Lolly and Renata will probably remember that. There was a time when I could answer questions from the chat, but it's a little too busy right now. Renata says, what do choppy and tacky mean? So choppy is something that the best thing I can think of is if you are in a boat on the water can be choppy. So there's little waves and the boat bounces up and down. So that would be choppy. So when it's choppy on the lake, the boat bounces up and down quite a bit. Tacky is when you wear something that isn't in fashion and maybe it doesn't match. Like if you wore a neon green shirt with yellow pants, people might think that looks tacky in some parts of the world. I don't, you can tell, I usually just wear blue shirts. So I usually don't dress very tacky. So I usually dress somewhat formally. Miguel, next question here. Let's see here. Miguel Lopez, how can I increase my vocabulary? I always recommend reading. Reading is such a great way to improve your vocabulary. Read the news, read a book. That is one of the best ways. And the other is to just use Anki or Memrise or Quizlet and just use apps and websites to really help practice and learn new vocabulary. Lots of questions here, folks. Let me just keep moving right along. Let's see here. Sem, I need my reading glasses. Sem says, how can we learn connected speech? Native speakers talk fast because you connect the words. How can we learn it? The best way to do that is to listen to a lot of native speakers and to study how they are connecting their speech. I naturally speak a little slower because I am a teacher. So even when I'm teaching in English, I speak slower to English-speaking students. But if you listen to, I think reality television shows are the best thing to watch to hear natural English speech. So watch Survivor and those types of shows, The Amazing Race, and you will hear a lot of connected speech. I don't use a lot of connected speech during my live lessons. If I wanted to, I could talk a lot more quickly and then you would hear a lot more of the connected speech. So that was me talking probably a little faster than normal. But yes, find television shows like the ones I mentioned. Those will help a lot. Let's see here. Victor says, hello, Victor from Panama. Hi, Victor. I was reading an interview a few days ago, and I saw the term dug the wells. Do you know this term, Bob? Thanks. So I don't know that term as meaning anything else than someone went out with a shovel and they dug some holes in the ground, and when they filled with water, they would call that a well, okay? So when you dig a well, you dig a hole and it fills up with water so you can get water out of the well. That is what I would know. I don't know it meaning, I don't know it as an idiom or a metaphor for anything else. Let me get the next question. Let's see here. Difference between, Henry says, what's the difference between may versus might? Thanks. So I may go to Niagara Falls next week. I might go to Niagara Falls next week. In those two sentences, it means pretty much exactly the same thing. But they do have usage is where it's a slightly different. But in the sense that you, there's a chance that something will happen, you could say, I may do that or I might do that. And both would mean the same in that case, Henry, for sure. Let me clean up my questions here. Gabrielle says, hi, Bob. I'm from Rio de Janeiro. I like your lessons very much, and I just wanted to thank you. God bless. Thank you very much, Gabrielle. Gabriel. There's two names, eh? There's a guy and a girl. I have a niece, Gabrielle, and I teach a student named Gabriel. So a little bit different there. Let's see. Luis Gustavo. Hi, Bob. I'm from Brazil. Can you explain the pronunciation of can and can't? When we speak quickly, these words can sound the same. So I can speak quickly. I can't speak quickly. In the first sentence, I said I can speak quickly. In the second sentence, I said I can't speak quickly. Let me say them fast again. I can speak quickly. I can't speak quickly. So maybe tomorrow, rewind to this section. We're at about the 27-minute mark, and listen to those two sentences. I am hitting just a little bit of a T when I say can't quickly, but I understand that it is a very challenging thing to hear. Ario says, how are you, Teacher Bob? I'm good. Do you know SpongeBob? That's a cartoon in the USA. I watched it on Nickelodeon. I watched it on the Nickelodeon channel. So I did correct your last bit of your sentence there, Ario. How are you, Teacher Bob? Do you know SpongeBob? That's a cartoon in the USA. I watched it on the Nickelodeon channel. Yes, I do know SpongeBob and his friend Patrick. My kids watched that cartoon quite a bit when they were younger. I'm not sure it's the greatest cartoon to learn English, but it's worth it, I guess. If you find it funny, you might really enjoy it. Ichugan says, hi, Bob. I assume based on your videos that you have some type of farm. Could you tell us more about it? Whose chores do you look after for them, and how do you do it? So yes, we do have a farm. We have a few sheep and goats, but mainly we grow flowers. And right now it's winter, so we are taking a bit of a break because flowers don't grow very well in the winter. Khalid says, hello, Bob. How can I find a person to practice English with? Small corrections there, Khalid, to your question. Hello, Bob. How can I find a person to practice English with? Again, if you go below, there's a link to Preply. There's also an app called Cambly and italki. At some point, it's very helpful if you can pay to hire an English tutor via Skype or FaceTime. I know not everyone can afford that, but it is money well spent to do that. It really is. Alicia says, are there any reality shows in Canada? Yes, we actually have The Amazing Race Canada. So there is a version of The Amazing Race that takes place in Canada. And we also have a show called Dragon's Den, which is kind of like a reality show that you could actually find as well. So Dragon's Den and The Amazing Race Canada. Pisces. Sorry, sometimes I laugh because I'm reading the question while I'm talking. Pisces, do you ever wear a cowboy hat and boots since you're a farmer? It's Renata. No, I do not ever wear a cowboy hat or cowboy boots. I don't own a cowboy hat or cowboy boots. I did, though, once own a really nice pickup truck, which is something that sometimes cowboys drive. But no, don't have a cowboy hat, don't have cowboy boots. If you're wondering what that question is about, a cowboy is someone from Western Canada or the western part of the United States who raises cattle, raises cows, and wears a big cowboy hat and wears a certain type of boot called a cowboy boot. Next question. That's a funny one. SBS says, hi Bob, that cap behind you looks too small for your head. It's a joke. I hope you don't take offense. Our phone's ringing. Don't worry about it. It's probably just someone that Jen's going to be talking to in a bit. The cap looks too small. Nope, they all fit me. Yeah, they all fit on my head. Should I put one on? Sure. Yes. So, does this fit my head? Here's the big test. Yep, it fits. And then this one doesn't fit. This one fits. This one fits. They all fit. All the hats fit. I don't usually try on hats during my live stream, but anyways, let's move on to the next question. Let's see here. Renard, let me see. Mr. Wiseman, a person texted me a question. I was unavailable for a few minutes. Then the person wrote disregard. Did it mean that the person didn't need my answer anymore, or did he show disrespect? So I did make a few corrections while I read that. All it means is that they didn't need you to respond anymore. Okay? So if I said to Jen, if I texted Jen like, do you want one pizza or two pizzas? And then she didn't answer, and then I bought two pizzas, I could go and text her again and say disregard, or just disregard that message, because there will be no need for me to know anymore. Next question from Educav. Hi from Curitiba, Brazil. Curitiba, Brazil. What's the difference between weather and weather? Thanks a lot. The pronunciation is the same. So whether you say weather or weather, it's pronounced the same way. Right now we're having bad weather. So whether you're having bad weather or good weather, weather and weather are pronounced the same way. I hope I didn't confuse all of you with that little sentence there. I have another repeat about can and can't. I'm going to just skip that question. I just did something. Sometimes I do weird things to my Google spreadsheet and things disappear. It's okay, people. I have to find my next question. There we go. I found my next question. Damien says, hi, Teacher Bob. Do these phrases have the same meaning? I made a big correction there, okay? Do these phrases have the same meaning? To contact someone or to get a hold of someone. They mean the same thing. Yep. Sometimes I have to contact my brother. Sometimes I have to get a hold of my brother. In those two sentences, they mean exactly the same thing, for sure. I do want to pause for a minute and say thank you for all of you. Thank you to all of you for watching. If you're new here, there is a subscribe button. I think it's over there. It might be somewhere around here. And I appreciate it if you subscribe. I have been teaching English on YouTube for quite a while now, and I really, really enjoy it. And give me a thumbs up if this video is helping you just a little bit. And don't forget to come back tomorrow and watch this video again with the English subtitles turned on. If there were parts of it that didn't make sense, come back tomorrow and re-listen to that part. It can be quite helpful. Let's see here. Fanny has the next question. The next question is, hello, Sir Bob. Bright morning. What's the difference between afraid and frightened? Meaning to say good time and to use thanks. Okay, so if I was to say the other day, I was afraid because the power went out and it was dark in my house. I can also say the other day I was frightened because I was in the dark in my house. Okay, so afraid and frightened can very much mean the same thing. Andre says, what's the difference between sick and ill? So last week I was sick, last week I was ill. They mean exactly the same thing. We tend to use the word sick a lot more than ill, though. We say things like, I was sick, or are you feeling ill? Okay, that's a little bit of a slight difference, but you can just use sick in every situation and people will understand you. A few repeat questions here. Let me get through them. Fatima has the next question. Fatima, hi, Mr. Bob. How do you pronounce the following words correctly? Okay, so I made some corrections there. Fatima, I should make sure I say names correctly. I'll look that one up. It is one of the most popular names in the world, and I don't even know how to say it. Hi, Mr. Bob. How do you pronounce the following words correctly? Tough, thought, through. I think it's tongue, but it's misspelled. Tongue. And keep doing your great lessons for us. No problem. Let me do those again. Tough, thought, through, and tongue. Let's see here. Next question. This one's a little tricky to answer, but I'll give it a shot. Timothy says, why had better do something is always in the past tense, even though we are not talking about past events. So if, for instance, I saw someone in the ditch, then I would probably think to myself, well, I had better do something to help them. Okay? It's really just a turn of phrase. It's a way of saying that you think you should help them. So it's tricky because it's more of a phrase than it is a conjugation. It's kind of just a way of saying something in English. I almost said in French. That would not be the language I'm teaching today. Let's see here. Punam Chaturvedi says, hi Bob, good evening. My question is, can we use the word sass in a positive way? Thanks. So when you are sassy or when you have a lot of sass, it means that you are a bold person. Usually we use this to refer to a woman. A woman can be sassy. And it is positive, but it's also very informal, okay? So it is, well, it's positive, but you would want to be very familiar with the person if you were to describe them using this word, okay? So if, for instance, you have a good friend and you could say, oh, you're so sassy. You would want to know them well, though, to use that phrasing or to use that word. Next question here is from Mo. Hi, Bob. Greetings from China. Hi, Mo. Can you tell me when is the inappropriate time to put the word the before a noun? That's a tricky one, okay? Because I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to be on my phone. When I pick up the phone, I like to use the phone. The tea is hot. So you'll really need to find a good lesson about it. Usually when I use the word the, it's because I'm talking about the item right in front of me. If I say phones, or if I say tea is hot, I'm talking about all the tea in the world. But if I say the tea is hot, then I'm talking about just this tea, which I'm going to take a little sip of for a moment. Let's see here. Next question. Pisces. Pisces says, do you say a lot? Yes. When I went to college, I actually went to college in the United States. I went to university in the United States, and people really noticed that I said a lot. I don't know if I say a lot when I'm teaching English on YouTube. I think I kind of drop it. But I could say something like, this tea is really hot, eh? Or I'm on my phone too much, eh? Like, I probably sound really Canadian when I say it that way. Let's see here. Next one. Andre says, do we say there are four of us or we are four when we talk about a group of people? So if I go to a restaurant and I say, oh, there are four of us, we need a table of four, table for four. If they say, how many of you are here? I can say, oh, there are four of us. You could say we are four. It's not incorrect. It sounds a little more formal, but you could say it. The most common would be, there are four of us. Oh, free 99. Sean says I did say A once in this live stream. I find that it's hard to suppress the A. I probably shouldn't. I should just keep saying it when it comes naturally. Matt has the next question. Matt, how do I use somehow in a sentence? Well, Matt, I'm not going to answer that because somehow you'll need to figure that out. Okay, so that was a little trick there. I just used the word somehow in a sentence. Sometimes when my kids have a problem, they'll say, Dad, I'm thirsty. And I'll say, well, somehow you'll have to solve that. Maybe go get a drink from the fridge. So there's 2 example sentences there for you. Hopefully that helps out quite a bit. Let's see here. Yaroslav says, hi, Bob, Canadian. It's 3 a.m. in Russia. But anyway, we're here. Thanks for being here, Yaroslav. I have a question for you. The question is, what's the difference between rubbish, trash, garbage, litter, junk, and waste? Okay, so first of all, we have in our house a garbage can and we put garbage in it. Garbage and trash are very similar words. In the United States, the part that I lived in years ago, they actually use the word trash more often. So garbage and trash are words that you use in the house, okay? You might have a trash can or a garbage can. You put trash in the trash can. You put garbage in the garbage can. You can put garbage in the trash can. You can put trash in the garbage can. But it's really something that refers to the daily garbage we create. Litter is when there's garbage on the side of the road or in front of a building on the ground. You would call that litter. And rubbish is not quite used as much probably as it used to be, but it also refers to, you know, there could be just a lot of rubbish in their yard. And then waste is just a general term for anything that is not useful anymore. Let's see here. Todd has a question. Free 99 English says, hey Bob, long-time listener, first-time caller. So Sean's making a little joke about radio call-in shows. That's something people would say. I'm a big fan. Since we're talking about baptisms, can you explain the expression baptism by fire? Thanks, Todd, for president. So Sean has a question about a phrase we use in English when you have baptism by fire. So baptism by fire is when you learn something the hard way. So I guess the best explanation would be maybe you're learning to use a certain tool at work and you don't quite know how to use it and they just tell you to start using it. It's like baptism by fire. You're just going to use the thing and you're going to learn quickly how to use it. I'm going to make sure I look up a formal definition for you. It describes an employee learning something the hard way through challenge or difficulty without much instruction, okay? So it's about learning to do something without necessarily having someone tell you how to do it. So it's baptism by fire. It's also called doing something through trial and error. So you try and you make mistakes, those kinds of things. Let's see here. Next question is from Mojgan. Mojgan says, hi Bob, what is the difference between supper and dinner? In my part of Canada, in this part of Ontario, supper and dinner are the same thing. It's kind of a regional thing. In some parts of North America, they might only say dinner. I generally use the word supper. You know, we had supper an hour ago. We had pizza. We actually had leftover pizza. And we had a smoothie. A smoothie is when you put vegetables and fruit in a blender and you blend it all up and it becomes like a smooth drink. Let's see here. Let's see. Next question is from Alana. How can I use either or? So you can kind of use these together. You can say things like, if someone said to me, do you want coffee or tea? I could say either or. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I'll take either. Notice I pronounce either and either. I say it 2 ways. I'm going to look this up for a sec to get a good example. Yeah, there aren't very good examples. It's very, it's almost a little bit slangy in the sense in how I used it. Let me just clean up my questions here. And I'm going to take another sip of tea. Let's see. The next question is from Zally from Mexico. Zally says, I'm afraid to be a teacher but studied that. Could you give any advice? Thank you. Yes, it gets easier the more you do it. When you teach children, especially for myself, I teach high school age children, so they're between the ages of 13 and 18. They're actually quite nice, okay? Some people think that teaching teenagers can be challenging and difficult. I personally find it quite enjoyable. They're fairly normal people. They have things that they like to learn, and you just have to figure out what they like to learn and go from there. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. So just if you don't have a teaching job yet, find one and just keep doing it. Let's see here. Martina says, do you think it is possible? I made a small correction there, Martina. Do you think it is possible to improve my intermediate English after 50 years? Or as a 50-year-old? Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you can learn stuff at any age. So if you are 50, I would say this is a great time to get started. Just jump in and start to learn it. I think you'll do well. Danny Boy has the next question. Hi, Bob. What does it mean at ease? So we just had someone ask a question about being a teacher. The more you talk in front of students, the more you will become at ease. When you are at ease, you are not stressed. When you are at ease, you are comfortable doing the thing that you are doing. That's a great question. Let's see here. I'm laughing again because I read the question. Martin from Poland says, hello there, Silver Fox. Thanks, Martin. What is the difference between fog and mist and foggy and misty? So fog and mist are actual things. When you go outside, you see fog, you see mist. And then when you say it is foggy or it is misty, you're describing what it looks like, okay? What is the actual difference? My understanding is that fog is something that can be anywhere, and mist is usually above water. But I think technically they are the same. They are the same thing. I think it's moisture that's in the air. But I'm not an expert on fog and mist. Let's see here. Rosa says, hi, Bob. I appreciate a lot your lessons and posts on Facebook. What does sugar daddy mean? We went over sugar daddy last week. A sugar daddy is a man who makes lots of money, and if somehow you can marry someone like that, you don't have to work, okay? Let's see here. Danny Boy has the next question. Danny Boy, hi, Bob. How to use the word hit when you mean that you want to get someplace? When you mean that you want to get someplace. So the only thing I can think of, Danny Boy, is the phrase hit the road. You know, I'm going to hit the road soon. If I was at a party and I was planning to leave soon, if I was planning to go home, I might say, I'm going to hit the road in a few minutes. I just want to say bye to everybody. So that's how I would use the word hit. Let's see here. Martin from Poland says, hello again. What is the difference between university and college? In this part of Canada, in Ontario, people go to university to become doctors or philosophers or lawyers. People go to colleges to become construction workers, bricklayers, nurses. So colleges generally train you for a very specific job, whereas a university, well, I guess if you're becoming a doctor, that's a pretty specific job. But there is a slight difference in what it is. Usually, a college teaches you exactly what you need to know to do that job, whereas a university might require you to take other classes outside of your study area. So maybe Deekshant can help me here. I see that I have a thumbs up sticker, but I don't know how to pronounce your name. So thank you very much. If any of you read alphabets from around the world, please let me know who this person is and what their name is so I can thank them for the nice thumbs up sticker there. Or maybe Todd or Dave could copy and paste that and see if they can figure out the name. But I'll wait to see if Deekshant is still here. Maybe he can tell me. I would guess the name is John, but I don't know for sure if that's what the name is. So thank you very much, though, for the super sticker. Let's see here. Ola says, hi, Teacher Bob. My name is Ola. I am from Ukraine. My question is, what does it mean, leave no stone unturned? How can I use it? Thank you. So when you leave no stone unturned, it would mean that you do everything you can to get something done, okay? So if I was to be writing a paper, oh, it's Yuri, says Renata. Thank you, Yuri, for the sticker, for the thumbs up sticker. And sorry that I need to do some learning myself, don't I? So I can read and pronounce everyone's name in my chat. When you leave no stone unturned, though, you do a thorough job. That would be the best way to say it. So Deek Shant says, Yorli Vitaken. Thank you very much, Deek. I called you Deek. I always think that's your name. Thanks, Deek Shant. I'll give you a thanks here for a sec. Thanks, Deek Shant, for helping me there. So Yorli Viatkin. Thank you very much for the sticker. Let's get to the next question. Next question is from Lee. Hi, how are you? It is snowing too much there, isn't it? What is the difference between these two sentences? He has taught history for 15 years versus he has been teaching for 15 years. They are the same. We just like saying things a whole bunch of different ways. It's snowing a lot, but not too much. I like snow. A little too much to drive right now, though. But I would say he has been teaching, or he has taught history for 15 years, or he has been teaching history for 15 years. Both completely correct sentences that mean exactly the same thing. This is the one, Lily has the question, what is the difference between further and farther? This is the question that I never answer very well. So sometimes when I'm driving my car, I realize that in order to get to the store, I need to go further. I also realize I need to go farther. So there are situations where we use them the same way, but it's worth your while to look that up on Google, Lily, instead of having me try to come up with too many examples. Let's see here. Rodrigo says, how can I get some muscles? I would like to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sorry, just for fun. Go to the gym. Hit the weights. There's another use of the word hit, by the way. You should hit the weights. Hit the weight room at the gym. Lift some weights. Build your muscles. That's how you do it, Rodrigo. At least that's what I've been told. Let's see here. Victor. Hello, Victor from Panama. Hi, Bob. Can you explain the term cocooning? Thanks. So the literal word cocooning is a caterpillar, which is a little insect, makes a cocoon and eventually turns into a butterfly. Let's see here. The actual term cocooning, I don't know if it has another meaning. Meaning of cocooning. Let's see here. Yeah. To envelop or surround in a protective or comforting way. So I'm not super familiar with that word used in a different way. So we'll let it go at that. You can look up a few more definitions. Miroslav says, hey, Bob, can you explain to us, I added the word to, can you explain to us the meaning of little to no and give us some examples? Thanks. Greetings from Ann Arbor to all of you. Yes. Hi, Miroslav. I hope you are not getting the same weather as us because you're driving a bus, right? Yeah, I think so. Here's a great example. I'll use the word snow. Sometimes they say there's going to be lots of snow, and then you get up the next morning and there's little to no snow on the ground. So what that means is you thought you were going to get a lot, and you ended up getting hardly any. There is hardly any snow outside. There's little to no snow outside. Let's see here. I have to clear up my questions here for a sec, folks. Let me get that done. Let's see here. Ahmad says, hello, teacher. How are you? I'm good, Ahmad. Could you clarify for me how to put the word selflessness in a sentence? Because I do not know the exact meaning. Appreciate everything you do. So first of all, selflessness is the act of being very kind and generous to other people. It's the act of thinking about other people first instead of yourself. In fact, it's the opposite of selfishness or being selfish, okay? So if I was to say, I hope when my kids grow up, they have they have the personality trait of selflessness. That means that I hope my children are very kind and helpful to others. Hi, English Danny. I see you in the chat there. Forgot to say hi to you early. It's good to see you here as well. Let's see here. Leonardo. Let me get this pasted in. Leandro from Brazil says, how do I say soda in Canada? Soft drink, pop, fizzy drink, or cold drink? What's the difference? Okay, so in my part of Canada, we often refer to it as pop. So when we buy Coke, when we buy Pepsi, we usually call it pop, or we call it soda pop, or we call it a soft drink. There are a lot of different names for it. When I lived in the United States, we called it soda. But you'll just have to listen or read signs in the grocery store or restaurant to start to get an idea of which of the words we use. Lily has the next question. Let me get that pasted in the chat. Lily says, what are the differences among the words fast, quick, soon, and early? So if I was to say, wow, 8 o'clock came fast, that means that I'm surprised how quickly the time went. If I was to say, wow, that was quick, it would mean that something went fast or quickly. The word fast and quick are somewhat interchangeable. You know, he was running really fast. He was running very quickly. They would mean the same thing. Soon, though, means that, you know, soon this live stream will be over. I'm talking about a time in the future that's coming quickly. You know, soon it will be February. Well, not soon, just a sec. It's only January 18th today, right? But soon it will be time to go to bed. So you're talking about something in the future that's going to happen very quickly. And then early is simply, you know, I like to get up early. When I go somewhere, I like to get there early. So those are the things. That's how you would use those 4 words. Let's see here. A lot of can and can't questions tonight. So I can explain all of them, but I can't answer every single one. So there I used another one. Let's see here. Next word. Romy says, Dear Bob, do North Americans use suspenders with its meaning as a friendly joke? No. So we don't wear suspenders. We don't hold our pants up with suspenders. And I'm not familiar with a joke or a word that does that. Let's see. So Prispavitel, just so you know, I do answer the questions as quickly as possible. And I do usually have far more questions than I have time to answer. So I know I just got to Romy's question, but it's really, there's a great English phrase for it. There's more questions than I can answer in an hour, but it is what it is. That's a phrase where we just realize in this situation, I try my best to answer all the questions, but it is what it is. I don't get through all of them. Let's see here. Confused Bird has the next question. I want to learn American English, but if I saw a word that sounds better in British, it'll be odd if I use both accents. So it would sound odd if you used a mix of accents, but it doesn't mean people won't understand you, okay? So I often hear little parts of British in people's speech as well as American English, and it's not a bad thing. As long as you can converse quickly and you can be understood, as long as you can pronounce things well, you shouldn't need to worry about it too much. Let me get the next question. Sean, can you let me know in the chat from Free99 if you're doing a live stream, just so I know when I'm wrapping up if I want to. Let's see here. Brian, are you coming to Columbia? That's the question. I'm not sure who Brian is, but maybe Brian's going there. If you're asking if I'm coming to Columbia, I'm not traveling anytime soon, for sure. Alejandro gets the last question of the night. Oh, it looks like the live stream froze. That happens sometimes. Maybe it didn't. Let's check here. Let's see here. Alejandro. My live stream keeps stopping, but anyways. Hi, mister, what is the difference between look out and watch out? So if I throw something at you, I could say look out or watch out. They both mean be careful because someone has thrown something at you. So anyways, folks, it has been 1 hour. I want to thank you all for being here. Don't forget to come back tomorrow and watch this live stream again with the subtitles on. If there were parts of this that you didn't understand, there will be English subtitles tomorrow. And I'm just pulling up here. Sean from Free 99 English is going to be starting a live stream very soon. And I'm going to give you the link. Here's the link to Sean Free 99's live stream starting a couple minutes. So if you want to stay up even later and want to watch another English lesson, Sean from Free 99 English will be doing one soon. I'm Bob the Canadian, though. I just want to say thank you so much to Todd and to Dave for being here and being moderators. I think you were busier tonight than you were yesterday morning. If you have not watched yesterday morning's live lesson, you can still watch it. It was on snacks. Everyone got really hungry while we were doing the lesson, but I think you should go watch it. Thanks to English Danny for the super chat. Also, if you did not watch this past Tuesday's video on my channel, it was on how to plan out your week in a way that helps you do a lot of reading, writing, listening, and speaking and vocabulary building each week. Sorry, I'm doing too many things at once here. I'm going to give you the link to that video as well. Let me find that for a sec. Of course, it doesn't pop up on my screen right away, so I'm going to have to click a few times. Anyways, thank you very much again for watching. Thanks to Deekshanch for translating a name for me. That was awesome of you. And here, in 1 second, here is the link to last Tuesday's plan for learning English. So I made a video that helps you structure your week from Monday to Friday. The link is in the chat over there. If you have not watched that yet, please do watch it. I'm going to stop now, though. Thank you to the almost 400 people who are watching. Thanks to English Danny. Thanks to Sean from Free 99 English for hanging out in the chat as well and helping people out. That's awesome of you. I'm going to push the button now and say goodbye. I hope you all have a really good Saturday night or a great Sunday morning, or maybe it's already lunchtime for you on Sunday. Anyways, it was great. Thanks again. And I will see you Tuesday with a new video, next Friday.